Howdy, this is Mackenzie Franklin from SideGame LLC here in Colorado Springs, Colorado. Today we're going to be organizing Super Fantasy Brawl, designed by Jochen Eisenhuth and published by Mythic Games. This is a fully sleeved copy of the game with all gameplay content all the way up to Wave 2 stored in the SuperFan Box here with no lid lift. It's organized to get gameplay started as soon as possible and even organized to have 2 simultaneous games going on at once. If you have any questions about any of the things you see here, please let me know down in the comments below. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel already, please make sure that you do. It is the best way to help us grow. Let's get started organizing Super Fantasy Brawl. Before we begin, I want to talk about 2 specific add-ons for the game, and that has to do with the cardboard stands as well as the playmat. The playmat for the game comes in this triangular tube, and I really like this as a storage container. Just make sure that you don't cut this plastic here. That way everything stays nice, and you can use this as a lid and just simply lift the flaps open, and you'll be able to get that mat when you need it. I really like this as an option for gameplay, and if you're trying to play 2 games simultaneously, you'll need the mat or another board, which you'll have to get in another copy of the game. So I do recommend the Neoprene mat for that. Now you have some other storage options for the playmat in the form of Architect tubes. I really like that it's adjustable to the size of your different playmats, and you can also unscrew this top plastic portion here and put a piece of artwork or just print off a picture of the game so you can clearly identify which mat goes to which game. So I really like these Architect tubes. They're a lot more durable and they're going to look a lot better for your playmat storage purposes. The other component I want to talk about are these cardboard stands. They go around the board in order to form an arena. This first one's going to hold all of your trophies, your victory points, 1st to 5 in that 2-player mode, and then you'll also have a stand here that's going to hold all of your objective cards. You'll draw one from the deck, put it up here, and then slide it down to show which victory points it's worth. Now, I don't actually really like these stands. These cardboard stands actually make it a little bit difficult to see the objective criteria. So you'll have them sliding down, you'll have to move them, it's a bit more fiddly than just sliding some cards on a row, and you also have to pair them to how many points they're worth. It does take a bit more time. They're also really big and they get in the way of reaching to the different hit point counters and moving stuff around, so I don't actually really like playing with these. They mostly get in the way. So I think that these are pretty superfluous, but if you like them, go ahead and get them, but you will need to store them outside separately in this storage system that we're going to employ here. All that being said, let's organize Super Fantasy Brawl. We'll lift the lid off here, and inside you'll see that we have the rulebook draped on top. The rulebook has a couple of changes in regards to the setup from the first edition, and also some rules regarding some keywords like bloodied. Take a look at it a second time just to make sure that you're familiar with all the changes and updates, but you'll put this on top so you can easily reference all of your keywords on the back here. In addition to the rulebook, you may store the variant components for the solo mode for Super Fantasy Brawl. There are various variants for this game for a solo mode. I'll leave a link in the description below for a couple of the variants that I've tried to play solo for this game. On top of your cardboard game board, you have all the player mats for the different players. You'll have 2 for each different color in case you want to play on teams or on 2 separate boards, employing that Neoprene mat as we talked about before. They've got space for your different champions, your cores, as well as your basic abilities here. So you have 2 for each color. And then we have the purple color. As mentioned before, we have our cardboard game board. Up next, we have all of the miniature storage. And as you can see, we've actually employed the boxes from the expansions here. Now, these expansions are going to hold way more characters. As you can see here, we have 8 in this section, as opposed to the normal 3 that come in each box. We've cut around the different plastic protectors so that they are still going to remain in this nice state and not get damaged from bumping around. You can simply pull them out here, use them, and then put them back when you're finished. I'll leave it here so you can pause the video if you'd like, so you can see what goes into each bin. And that's that first one. To the right of the first big miniatures box, you're going to have 4 more smaller miniatures in a smaller cardboard box that you'll just take out like so you can access some more miniatures underneath. This includes Wrath, Dugrun, Suzhou, and Darren. And underneath those, you're actually going to have some extra sleeves, whether it be nice fancy art sleeves or clear sleeves, whatever you need in case something breaks. And you can get this from cutting up some of your other boxes from the other expansions, or you can just find a box that fits nicely in that little area. I believe this box is from a box of chocolates, and we've used it and repurposed it here. In the center, we have another large miniatures box that you can actually just leave in there, or you can take it out if you'd like to admire your miniatures. Once again, I'll leave it on the screen here so you can pause it if you need to see where everything goes, but these are going to be some of your larger miniatures. So we've actually used the yellow expansion box here because it's a little bit taller than the others, so it will fit some of your larger characters. So keep that in mind. The expansion boxes are different sizes based on the models of the miniatures, but you can actually just leave this tray in the box here. You don't ever really need to take it out. On the left side of the box here, you have the only remaining inserts from the original All-Star box. You lift that lid open here, and you have a resource tray that's going to get you set up based on the type of game you want to play. These are actually set up for 1v1 duels, but you can also have them for 2v2. So you'll have 2 bases for each of the players on the 2v2 teams, and then you'll have a set of cores for each player for each color. You have your damage counters, your trap tokens, your coins. In this trophy section here, we're only going to have 8 trophies. And that's because in the 1v1 player game, it's a race to 5. So once each team gets 4 trophies, if you were to get that 9th trophy, you just win the game instead. So there's no actual reason to put it in here. In addition, it's a little bit tight, so it's hard to actually close the lid if you have more trophies in here. So if you are playing that team mode, it's a race to 7. So there's actually space later in this box we'll talk about that has extra trophy tokens for that team versus team mode. Underneath that first tray, we'll have an identical tray that just has your black and white bases as well. Underneath the resource trays, we have 4 more player mats for the different player colors. Now, the reason that they're here is if you decide to play 2 2v2 games. That way you can give one of these to one of the sets of players, one of these to another set of players, and then you can use the 4 Neoprene playmats for the other 2v2 teams. So you'll have these all here just in case, and they all fit nicely into the large all-star box here. And that brings us to the right side, where you have the rest of our large miniatures. So we have Corvash here, Kilgore, as well as Solka, and you'll put them here because they are a bit larger, and some of the other components will keep them protected. So you won't really take these out unless you're actually playing with those characters. We have the 3 statues for the game in an easy access area, and you'll just place those into their appropriate spots on the game board. And then we have a small plastic bag here that's going to be used under very specific circumstances. If you do need extra bases for 2v2 matches, they're in here, but there are enough stored in those containers that we talked about earlier, and then those extra trophies for those 2v2 matchups, because you will be racing to 7 as opposed to 5 victory points. So they're here if you absolutely need them. You'll generally leave these in the box. And that brings us to the last section, the cards. We've actually cut down another cardboard box, a Dinosaur World hybrid pack. We've cut out the bottom there and just trimmed it so that it fits nice and snugly on the side here. So your cards aren't going to be moving around. But if you do need to take them out, you simply lift the box out and just place them on the table appropriately. The cards are organized so that you have your extra set of objectives if you're playing 2 different games at once. Do not shuffle these together because there are unique objectives for each card here. Do not shuffle them together. Give one set of objectives to each game that's going on. You've got all of your draft cards here that give you an idea of what the different characters are like with their mobility and their strength and all their other stats, as well as their health and armor values. So you'll have those for all of your characters in there as well. We move those to the side and you'll see that we have our extra piece if we're playing the 2v2 mode for the game. This goes next to the objectives to give some more time in between scoring objectives. We have our new double-sided reference cards in here with resolving an attack reference as well as a turn order reference. We then have all of our champion cards. You've got your champion portrait that's double-sided with the holofoil side representing the level up, and then 6 associated action cards that go with each hero. You can tell which of these action cards go with each hero based on the symbols in the corner here. These are all of Solka's cards because they bear that mark. So keep them together like so, and you can organize them in any way you see fit. I like organizing them alphabetically. And our last component and our last set of cards are these challenge cards. You can actually leave this one out of the bag because you're always going to need at least one of these decks of cards. So go ahead and shuffle that up and get it ready next to the board. And that's everything inside of the box. Let's go ahead and pack it up. First off, we have our card box in the upper right here. We'll place our challenge cards and our objective cards in there like so. We'll then place our reference cards, our 2v2 mode, our overview cards, as well as our second set of challenge cards to the right of this. And we'll sneak them in like so. Make sure that's pressed flush against the wall here so nothing moves around. We'll put our first large set of miniatures in the center here, our cardboard player mats, and then our different resource containers for the different colored sets of players. You'll place your extra rings and trophies, all of your statues, your 3 larger champions like so, our second large box of miniatures followed by our smaller box, your cardboard game board with the player mats on top, any potential solo modes, and your rulebook for the game. And that is organizing Super Fantasy Brawl. If you have any questions about what you saw here, please let me know down in the comments below. How do you organize your copy of Super Fantasy Brawl? What do you think of the new Round 2 content? Who's your favorite new champion? Who's your favorite champion altogether? What do you think of the cardboard structures? Do you use them? We'd love to hear what you think. But thank you so much for watching. SideGame Strong.